Dora, a bright and determined young woman, had just returned to her village in Iket Ekpin, Akwa Ibom State, after months away at school. It was a sunny afternoon, and the familiar sights and sounds of her hometown welcomed her like an old friend. The scent of freshly roasted palm nuts and the rhythmic beats of local drummers celebrating a festival nearby filled the air. Dora had always dreamed of achieving great things, finishing her education, making her family proud, and perhaps one day becoming a caterer. However, she didn't anticipate that her visit home would change the course of her life forever. As she stepped into her family compound, shouts and warm welcome from her mother and siblings made her so happy and proud. A man named Emmanuel, a family acquaintance from far away in Kaduna, had earlier came looking for her but was told by her mother that she was not in town. Emmanuel was a handsome-looking young man. He based in Kaduna where he was pursuing his career. He came back to Akwa Ibom State in search of a bride. He was directed by his distant relative named Auntie Love to Dora's family. Emmanuel carried an air of calm authority. He had come on the recommendation of his distant relative, Auntie Love, who spoke highly of her virtues. Emmanuel had been searching for a life partner, and his family believed Dora was perfect. Emmanuel had gone from Dora's compound to his distant relative home when coincidentally Dora arrived for Yola where her school was. Dora and Auntie Love had been close friends. Dora decided on her arrival to visit her friend Auntie Love. That's where Dora and Emmanuel met for the first time of their life. After brief introductions, Emmanuel wasted no time expressing his intentions. Dora, I know this may come as a surprise, but I believe fate has brought us together. I have heard of your kindness, intelligence, and grace. I would be honored if you would consider becoming my wife. Dora was taken aback. She had barely unpacked her bags and was now being asked to consider a marriage proposal. At first, she hesitated, unsure if this was the right path for her. But as Emmanuel spoke, his sincerity and gentle demeanor began to warm her heart. He promised to support her dreams and ensure she could continue her education even after marriage. After seeking counsel from her parents and elders, and spending a few quiet moments in reflection, Dora surprised herself and everyone else by saying, "Yes, I accept." The news spread quickly through the village, and preparations for the wedding began almost immediately. The festivities were grand, colorful attire, traditional dances, and the delicious aroma of native delicacies filled the air. Dora's family ensured that she was celebrated as a queen before she left for her new life. A week later, Dora found herself in Kaduna, a bustling city far removed from the serene landscape of Iket Ekpin. Life with Emmanuel was an adjustment. The culture was different, the language was new, and the dry climate contrasted sharply with the lush greenery she was used to. However, Emmanuel's love and support helped her adapt. Dora began to see her new life as an opportunity to grow. She enrolled in a local catering homes to continue her studies, and with Emmanuel's encouragement, she started working on community projects, blending her Akwa Ibom heritage with the culture of her new home. What began as an unexpected turn of events became a beautiful chapter of resilience, love, and ambition. Dora's story became an inspiration to many, proving that destiny often works in mysterious but meaningful ways. Dora's life in Kaduna had blossomed into a blend of purpose and determination. Alongside being a new wife, she discovered a love for baking. She began making delicious snacks like chin-chin, puff-puff, and meat pies, which she sold to the students, neighbors, and local stores. Her treats quickly became popular, earning her the nickname Madam Snacks in the community. However, life took an unexpected turn when Emmanuel, her husband, was offered admission to further his studies at a prestigious university in Edo State. It was an opportunity he couldn't pass up, and though Dora was proud of him, the separation weighed heavily on her. The absence of a child in their marriage only deepened her loneliness. At first, Dora tried to cope by immersing herself in work and baking, but the silence of her evenings became unbearable. After months of enduring the distance, she made a bold decision: she would travel to Edo State to be closer to Emmanuel. A new start in Edo State. Dora's arrival in Edo State brought mixed emotions. Emmanuel, who lived in the school hostel, couldn't accommodate her, so she moved in with her distant cousin, Ruth, who worked in the city. Ruth's home became a haven for Dora as she adjusted to her new environment. Determined to make the most of her situation, Dora applied for jobs and was soon hired as a hotel supervisor. The job was demanding, but it allowed her to interact with people, which eased her loneliness. She managed the hotel staff with efficiency and charm, earning the respect of her colleagues and the admiration of her boss. Despite her busy schedule, Dora visited Emmanuel frequently at the university. They shared quiet moments together, and she supported him as he juggled his studies. The distance between their living arrangements was challenging, but their love and shared dreams kept them connected. A glimmer of hope. One sunny morning, while supervising breakfast service at the hotel, Dora began to feel dizzy. At first, she dismissed it as exhaustion, but when the symptoms persisted, she suspected that she was pregnant. Dora couldn't contain her excitement. She immediately called Emmanuel, who was overjoyed at the news. The couple's dream of starting a family was finally coming true. Dora's pregnancy became the beacon of hope she needed, filling her life with renewed purpose and happiness. With her unwavering spirit, Dora continued working at the hotel while preparing for motherhood. Her journey was a testament to resilience and the power of love, proving that even in the face of challenges, perseverance and faith could lead to a fulfilling and joyful life. Dora's story was far from over. This was just another chapter in her inspiring tale. Dora's excitement about her supposed pregnancy turned to heartbreak when she learned it was a false alarm caused by anxiety and stress. The disappointment left her emotionally drained and vulnerable. She tried to confide in her husband, Emmanuel, but his busy schedule at the university made it difficult for him to offer the support she desperately needed. To make matters worse, Dora began hearing unsettling rumors about her cousin, Ruth, who had been frequenting the hotel where Dora worked. Ruth, a married woman, was reportedly flirting with top managers and other male staff. At first, Dora refused to believe it, defending her cousin as someone who was respectable and loving. But as the stories became harder to ignore, Dora decided to investigate. She discreetly observed Ruth's behavior at the hotel and was shocked to find that the rumors were true. Ruth seemed to have no qualms about her actions, laughing and chatting flirtatiously with the men in a way that raised eyebrows. The confrontation. Unable to contain her frustration, Dora confronted Ruth one evening at home. "Ruth," Dora wrote on a sheet of paper, her hand trembling with anger, I've heard things about you. How can you, a married woman, behave like this? Do you realize what people are saying about you? Do you even think about your handsome husband or your reputation? Ruth, taken aback by Dora's directness, scoffed. Dora, you don't understand, she replied dismissively. Life is not as simple as you think. I have needs, and my husband is barely around. Besides, what I do is none of your business. Dora's fury boiled over. None of my business. You're my cousin, Ruth. You live in my home, and your actions reflect on me. Do you even care about the consequences of your choices? What if your husband finds out? What if these men decide to use you and throw you away? Don't you value yourself? Ruth rolled her eyes and stormed out of the room, leaving Dora fuming and hurt. The aftermath. The confrontation left a rift between the cousins. Ruth began avoiding Dora, and their once close relationship became strained. Meanwhile, Dora's depression deepened. The stress of managing her job, dealing with Ruth's behavior, and coping with her own emotional struggles began to take a toll on her health. Dora realized she needed help. She sought advice from a local pastor, who encouraged her to focus on her own well-being and to pray for Ruth. She also started attending therapy sessions to address her depression and anxiety, which gradually helped her regain her strength and clarity. Though the situation with Ruth remained unresolved, Dora decided to distance herself from her cousin's choices. She focused instead on rebuilding her own sense of purpose and finding peace within herself. Dora's journey was far from easy, but she began to understand that some battles are best fought with patience, self-care, and faith. Ruth, now desperate to protect her marriage and reputation, devised a sinister plan to shift attention away from herself. Aware of the harsh laws in her husband's hometown that severely punished infidelity, Ruth knew she couldn't risk the rumors reaching her husband. She needed a scapegoat, and sadly, she chose Dora. Ruth began spreading whispers around the neighborhood and among Dora's colleagues at the hotel. She claimed that Dora was a witch who had bewitched her children and house help, causing the problems in her home. Ruth painted a vivid picture of Dora as a jealous and malicious cousin, intent on ruining her life. The lies spread quickly, and people began to look at Dora differently. Customers at the hotel whispered when she walked by, and some of her colleagues started avoiding her. Dora was confused and heartbroken, unable to understand why she was suddenly being treated with suspicion. The confrontation and public outburst. One evening, Ruth escalated her plan. She stormed into the hotel where Dora worked, causing a scene in front of the staff and guests. "Everyone needs to know the truth," Ruth shouted. "Dora is the reason my family is suffering. She's a witch. She cursed my children and ruined my marriage." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Dora, who stood frozen in shock. Her heart pounded as Ruth continued her tirade, weaving an elaborate story of how Dora's supposed jealousy had driven her to use dark powers. "Ruth, stop this madness," Dora finally shouted, tears streaming down her face. "You know I've done nothing but help you. How can you lie like this?" Ruth sneered. "Help me. By destroying my home. You'll regret this, Dora." Seeking justice. Devastated and humiliated, Dora knew she couldn't let the accusations go unanswered. She sought advice from her pastor and a trusted lawyer, both of whom encouraged her to clear her name. Dora decided to confront Ruth's lies head-on. She invited Ruth, her husband, and other family members to a meeting at the pastor's house. There, Dora calmly presented her side of the story, recounting the events that led to the accusations. She even brought witnesses from the hotel who testified about Ruth's flirtations and erratic behavior. When confronted with the evidence, Ruth's husband was furious. "So this is why you were so afraid of me hearing rumors," he said, glaring at Ruth. "You were trying to destroy someone else to hide your own shame." Ruth denied the whole story, rather told them that Dora is a witch and that she recently killed her own child that she was carrying. She demanded for justice. She said Dora must be prosecuted for trying to destroy her marriage by cooking all this story against her. Her husband was too hurt and disappointed to respond. Moving forward, though Ruth's lies were covered by her accusations, the damage to Dora's reputation lingered. It took months of hard work and support from her husband, Emmanuel, and the pastor to rebuild her life. Dora was scared about the kind of woman Ruth is. Dora chose to keep her distance from Ruth to protect her peace. In time, Dora's resilience and integrity shone through, and she regained the trust and respect of those around her. She also made a promise to herself to prioritize her happiness and well-being, no matter the challenges she faced. We know of what happened next to Dora in the next chapter. Watch Ruth's dark plans towards Dora. In her desperation to solidify her lies and protect her reputation, Ruth took her plot to a terrifying level. She contacted 16 powerful chiefs from different communities, known for their expertise in ancient rituals and incantations. Ruth bribed them heavily, convincing them to conduct a public witch trial to prove that Dora was guilty of witchcraft. The chiefs arrived with elaborate charms, amulets, and sacred objects, and a date was set for the ritual. Word spread like wildfire, and a crowd gathered in anticipation of the event. Dora, confused and terrified, was dragged to an eerie and isolated location, a place shrouded in superstition and fear. The villagers whispered among themselves, unsure of what to believe. While some doubted the accusations, others were too afraid to question the chief's authority. Emmanuel, Dora's husband, was devastated when he learned of the events. He tried to visit Dora, but he was stopped by armed guards and villagers who believed that his presence might interfere with the ritual. "Stay back," they warned. "If you interfere, you'll anger the spirits, and the whole village could suffer. You will even be stoned by our youth." Emmanuel was furious but helpless. He sought help from the police and local authorities, but they were reluctant to intervene in what they saw as a traditional matter. Desperate, Emmanuel turned to his pastors and the Christian Student Union, begging for divine intervention. They engaged themselves in prayers for Dora, day and night. On the day of the ritual, the chiefs surrounded Dora, chanting incantations and sprinkling her with mysterious powders. They set fires and beat drums to see if Dora would react and dance, believing that this would prove her to be a witch. They demanded that she confess to being a witch, but Dora, trembling with fear, maintained her innocence. She kept praying to her God, the Almighty, to put confusion into their midst and to set her free. "I am not a witch," she cried. "I have done nothing wrong." The chiefs began performing elaborate rites, claiming that their charms would reveal the truth. As the crowd watched, tensions ran high. Ruth stood among them, pretending to cry and pleading for justice against her cousin. As the incantations continued, one of the younger chiefs suddenly started quarreling with the rest, beating his chest. The other chiefs supported him. The crowd gasped in shock, believing this to be a sign from the spirits. The elder chief, visibly shaken, turned to the crowd and declared, "Something is wrong. This woman is not what we were told she is. The spirits are angry, not with her, but with someone else here." Ruth's face turned pale as murmurs swept through the crowd. The elder chief demanded to know the truth, and Ruth's trembling demeanor gave her away. Pressured by the chiefs and the accusing eyes of the villagers, Ruth refused to confess but suggested that a concoction be given to Dora to drink to further prove her guilt. As the sun set and the dark night enveloped the town, the chiefs grew restless and irritated. Despite being invited by Ruth for the ritual, they were neither entertained nor given so much as a sip of water. Tensions began to rise among them, and whispers turned into loud arguments. "Why were we even brought here?" one chief growled. "To starve and perform useless rituals. This is an insult to our status." "I was told this was a serious matter," another replied angrily. "Instead, we've been dragged into a family dispute. This woman we are punishing seems innocent." The younger chiefs began questioning the purpose of the ritual, casting accusing glances at Ruth, who sat smugly among the crowd. Ruth, distracted by her efforts to tarnish Dora's name, failed to notice the chief's growing discontent. Her arrogance and lack of hospitality only deepened their doubts about her sincerity. "She treats us like slaves," one chief muttered. "And for what? To punish an innocent soul. Something is wrong here." The elder chief, who had been observing silently, finally spoke up. "There is something deceitful about this whole affair," he said. "We need to rethink our involvement before we become tools for evil." They decided to postpone the case to the next morning. Suggestions were raised that Dora be detained in the police station till the next day. But this did not go well with the chiefs. They believed that Ruth might harm Dora in the night. In the middle of the night, all the chiefs decided to visit Dora at her home. They told Dora and her husband that from the moment Dora had sat on the ground where they poured all manner of libations, she would have either died or manifested as a witch. Since nothing had happened, they knew she was innocent and falsely accused by her cousin to cover her bad attitude. They advised Dora to leave the community that night, knowing of Ruth's plot to kill her. Dora was secretly taken out of the community to a different state via a night bus. Ruth later confessed her infidelity to the chiefs and the crowd, sending shockwaves through the village. The chiefs immediately ended the ritual and declared Dora innocent. The villagers, filled with guilt for believing the lies, apologized to Dora and Emmanuel. Ruth's home scattered. She later died of negligence by her husband and family due to her continuous wickedness and infidelity after a few years. Dora later had 5 children who were very promising and God-fearing. She lived happily ever with her husband and children.